All right, we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we got a lot to talk about in our live stream. We're going to look at some top events that you need to watch out for in crypto coming up very soon. Some of these are this week. Some of them are just around the corner. But all of these are going to have a big impact on the space. So we're talking about that. We're looking at a lot of other updates that have happened since our live stream on Friday. Again, we do these live streams Monday through Friday on this channel. Just subscribe, turn on notifications. You're going to find out about those whenever we go live. We're going to answer some of your questions, take a quick look at the crypto markets, and a whole lot more. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory. On this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to become a blockchain master, step-by-step start to finish, land your first blockchain job, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. So we got people jumping in the chat here. We got, let's see here, Automatic Beats, Madison, Kodia, let's see here, Timur, Above Realty, Tina, Dale. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I like that. Everyone can afford to pay attention. That's great. Awesome. So let's jump into this. So let's talk about some of the top events to watch out for in crypto coming up very soon. So we'll start off with some things that are happening this week that should definitely be on your radar if you're involved in the crypto markets in any way. Okay, so we can go ahead and just take a quick peek at the crypto markets and talk about some of these things. Let me move 1 second here. Let's just see here. Sorry, my chart fell off the screen before we jumped on here. All right, so the first few things are definitely going to be related to crypto markets themselves. Of course, if anybody's watching they pick up their phone this morning, or checking out over the weekend, we've seen, pretty much a bearish trend over the entire past 7 days, particularly on Thursday. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other major cryptocurrencies starting to, break to the downside. Pretty significant move, about a 10% move. And we've kind of been on this shelf ever since, okay? Trying to make some bit of recovery here. So there's always the question is, the pump that we've seen over the past month or so that we've pretty much retraced at this point. It's been a bear market rally. Are we going to continue on to a new uptrend? We can talk more about that towards the end of the stream. So definitely stick around. But let's talk about some things that could be affecting this on the short term, particularly this week. All right. So the first. A couple different things here. Let me just pull this up on my screen. If you look at what's going on with crypto, it's highly correlated to what's happening in the stock market right now. You can basically see that pretty much everything has been following the same trajectory over the past week or so. All right, you can look at what's going on with S&P 500. No coincidence that on Thursday we started mirroring the exact same leg down that we did in the crypto market. So that's been the story of everything since the beginning of the year. Crypto stocks have basically been headed in the same direction, highly correlated to asset classes. Okay, crypto's had its own specific set of problems that have caused the price to go down even further at certain periods of time, like stable coins blowing up, hedge funds blowing up, lots of specific problems in the crypto space that we have corresponded to big leg downs here versus the stock market, both mostly head in the same direction, right? That's, of course, been going on in the broader economy. Again, it's like a genius to see that inflation has been a problem and that the actions of the central bank have had a huge effect on the direction of pretty much all markets. Okay, we're talking about a complete paradigm shift in how we have, what our prevailing monetary policy is, from one of expansion to one of tightening, okay? Raising interest rates, slowing growth, all that type of stuff. So, we've got some news on that front coming up this week. Let me pull this up on my screen here. All right. Definitely some things to watch out for this week. So, Thursday and Friday. All right, so Thursday we're going to have our second GDP print at 12:30. So current estimate is it's unchanged at negative 0.9%. So we'll see if this meets the market's expectations or not. Of course, GDP is a pretty big factor when we're talking about recessions. Okay, so people have been talking. We've been speculating since the beginning of the year on whether or not the United States has been in a recession. Okay, I was mostly saying basically after we got our first print in Q1, that it feels like we're in a recession, right? Of course, as classically defined by 2 consecutive quarters of contracting economy or negative GDP, all the goods and services in the economy, the measure of that going down 2 quarters in a row. Of course, you see lots of people saying, "Oh, it's not exactly how you define a recession." Okay, whatever. But anyways, basically, we're gonna get some more numbers on that, and we'll see if that has any impact on what's going on right now. And I think the biggest thing right here is, does this meet people's expectations or not? Of all the data that comes out, whether it's good or bad, inflation numbers, et cetera, I think the big key is meeting, defying, or defying expectations to either side. Like when we watch the inflation numbers come out, typically they meet people's expectations. It's kind of a nothing burger. If they're worse than people's expectations, we've seen markets go down, and when things are better than people's expectations, they go up, even if the numbers aren't that great in the first place. Like we basically see when inflation numbers are still coming in pretty hot, on the grand scheme of things, but they're lower than people's expectations, and people are like, "Oh yay!" So we'll have to see what happens with these numbers on Thursday. So Friday, we're going to see some more of these come out, and we have a event from Jerome Powell at Jackson Hole on Friday, and that's one a lot of people are watching out for, to see if there's any clues on where the Fed is going to head, because a lot of people are just waiting for the Fed to start turning dovish before they get too excited about what's going on in broader markets. So we'll see if we get any clues on that on Friday, or absolutely not. So anyways, that's definitely what to watch out for in terms of macro this week, but I don't want to make it all about macro on this channel, because really that's just a tiny fraction of what happens in the crypto space. But it's a big theme of the conversation, so I bring it up. Again, don't pretend to be a macroeconomics expert by any stretch of the imagination, but that's what people are talking about, and that's what you need to know. So let's look at some technical innovations that are going to be big for the crypto space coming up pretty soon. These are ones that I'm particularly excited about. Definitely ones you need to know about if you were involved as a developer, or just interested in the future of crypto and how that overlaps with technology. Because at the end of the day, my big thesis is that we create technology that generates demand, and that demand flows down to crypto assets in terms of appreciation and price over the long term. So the first big one in terms of if we're going chronological order here, but changing categories in terms of tech, we've got the launch of Arbitrum Nitro coming out on August 31st. Okay. So what is this and why is it important? So Arbitrum is a layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum. So Ethereum's long-term, roadmap is all about scaling with layer 2s. Okay. So what does that mean? So we got, the merge for Ethereum coming out in a month. I'll talk about that here in a minute. But, this is the long-awaited transition from Ethereum from proof of work to proof of stake. You might have heard about Ethereum 2.0, okay? So, this is part of what people think of as Ethereum 2.0. It's not the final version, okay? But people, I'm still seeing major news outlets and influencers talk about how Ethereum 2.0 is, and the merge is going to fix Ethereum's gas fees. I'm still seeing this all over the place. And so, because one of the biggest complaints about Ethereum is, oh yeah, it's great, but it's too slow. It's too expensive, right? Normal people aren't going to use it. It's got this huge headwind for actually getting adoption for these scalability reasons. This is a major bottleneck. Well, guess what? The merge is not going to fix that problem, despite major sources of information saying that. But that's okay. We don't have to wait for Ethereum 2.0 to fully arrive, or ETH to finally, achieve its grand vision for what it wants to be from day one, or for the merge to happen, for that matter, in order to get the benefits of a faster, cheaper to use Ethereum. That's what layer 2 scaling solutions are for, and that's what it's been the vision for quite some time now, particularly for roll-up based technology. Okay, and we'll talk about more roll-ups here in a minute, but Arbitrum is a major player in that ecosystem, right? To scale Ethereum, to make it faster and cheaper to use. And we got Arbitrum Nitro coming back out, okay, on August 31st. Okay, so if you want a guide to see, to see what's going on with the migration here, you can definitely check out the tweet thread here on Arbitrum's account. So Arbitrum is, one of many scaling solutions. There's only really a handful of ones that are getting meaningful adoption in terms of general purpose layer 2s. So what does that mean? So a general purpose layer 2 is different from like an application specific layer 2, like you might see DYDX here. This is an application specific layer 2. General purpose ones are kind of like their own blockchains, but they're built on top of Ethereum, and they use Ether or Ethereum cryptocurrency to pay the gas fees, okay? But means that developers can create whatever smart contracts they want to, whatever applications they want to, and put them on there. It's not app specific. So it's an open platform just like Ethereum is, but it piggybacks on top of Ethereum itself. So that's what's happening with Arbitrum 1 on August 31st. Or sorry, with Arbitrum on August 31st, Arbitrum Nitro. That's what I meant to say. Sorry, I get the terms. I accidentally say the wrong term sometimes. Arbitrum 1, Arbitrum Nitro, all that type of stuff. So another big item on the roadmap, especially in terms of layer 2 scaling solutions, one that I'm quite excited about here, is what's going on with ZK Sync. All right. So let's pull up a thread here. So ZK Sync is 67 days to ZK Sync 2.0 on the mainnet. All right. So if you look, we'll talk about that. But if you look at this website, l2beat.com, this tracks all the Ethereum layer 2s. Again, we got Arbitrum. I've got Optimism. You go down the list here, and you can see ZK Sync. Okay. So what is that? Why is it important? Well, you see the different ZK ones, all right? What are the actual ZK Sync tweet thread here? So ZK Sync is a different type of layer 2 scaling solution. So you've seen like Optimism and Arbitrum. Those are both optimistic rollups, okay? They were some of the fastest to ship Ethereum layer 2s. That works differently from a different type of layer 2. ZK Sync, or sorry, ZK rollups. I'm trying to say here. Sorry, I got the early Monday morning brain fog here. The ZK rollups. So what are those? ZK rollups versus optimistic rollups. So they rely upon zero knowledge proofs. They rely on cryptography to do more of the validation of transactions whenever they're actually processed and put on the layer 2 as a transaction appended to the chain. So I've been talking about ZK rollups for a long time. They have some benefits over optimistic rollups, notably that you can use math to prove things faster. You don't have to rely upon this optimistic technique, which also has its own drawbacks. Okay, one of the biggest drawbacks is in user experience. Basically, people having to wait multiple days for their withdrawals to finalize. Of course, you can use protocols to expedite that process, but you have additional trust and assumptions involved. Okay, so the cool thing about ZK rollups is that you can mitigate a lot of that stuff. Okay. So anyways, let's look at what's going on with the roadmap for ZK Sync. So it's 67 days to mainnet. It's been a long road to the first product of the ZK EVM solution. The other thing is this is EVM compatible, so people can take their own Solidity smart contracts and port them over to ZK rollup scaling solutions, which previously was a difficult feat. Okay. Because previously, most of the zero-knowledge-based solutions required you to write your contracts in a proprietary programming language. You don't really want that in order to make an ecosystem flourish, because you want developers to be able to use the same coding languages and tools that they already know that can actually be performant on that, virtual machine or on that computer itself that the actual node runs on. And so that's huge that that they support the EVM and Solidity contracts on the network. So overjoyed with the number of projects launching with us. Can't mention them all, but today we're highlighting 5 projects from our growing ecosystem. Okay, so we're gonna have a perpetual DEX on ZK Sync. Okay, let's look at a couple other ones. We got another DAO, okay. Got Secure 3. And you can see all the other projects here. Let me just pull it up. On the ZK Sync v2 testnet. So if you actually want to use this before it goes live to mainnet, you can test this out on the testnet. So another reason that ZK Sync launching on this timeline is significant is because that this is going to be basically about the same. This is going to be really close to the Ethereum merge. All right. So Ethereum merge. Let's actually compare the timelines here. Ethereum merges next month, September. We'll talk about that here in a minute. And then the following month in October is when we have the planned release for, ZK Sync version 2. Okay, with the ZK EVM. All right, so we're making incremental steps in the right direction very soon for this fast, scalable proof of stake Ethereum. Of course, we have a lot of that right now with, optimistic rollups. Okay. But taking it to the next step with ZK rollups is a big deal, in my opinion. Okay. So that's another thing you definitely need to watch out for in crypto coming up soon. So let's move into the merge, since that is probably the biggest event in all of crypto's history over the past several years. All right, we've got that. Let's look at the merge countdown here. So we are officially 24 days till the Ethereum merge. It's less than a month away. So just setting the stage for that in case you're not familiar, if you're brand new. Of course, Ethereum is transitioning from proof of work to proof of stake. We're moving towards this, new way of doing things. That's been the plan for Ethereum really from day one. Like Ethereum was planned to essentially be a proof of stake blockchain. Okay, it went live with proof of work. We discussed the transition to proof of stake for many years and worked towards that implementation, and it is finally here. It's had so much FUD over the years of, it's never going to happen, Ethereum's never going to switch, it's never going to work, etc., etc., and we're finally making that transition. And some of the biggest, benefits of that transition are Ethereum is going to essentially become a staking asset, have lots of other reasons people to hold Ethereum or Ether. Okay, it's going to... it's not going to fix the gas fees. It's not going to make it faster, really. That's what the scaling solutions are for, about a minute ago. If ETH is most likely going to be deflationary over a long time horizon, which basically means we're burning more ETH than we're creating, but from the blockchain, which means the supply goes down, which assuming the network activity stays the same and assuming the demand for Ether, the asset, stays the same over time or increases, then it will have an price impact just based upon supply side economics. Okay. So anyways, those are huge reasons to get excited about the Ethereum merge. Of course, Ethereum just pulling off this feat and delivering on the promises that it's had for a long time, and what that means for the future of Ethereum and the final things that it has on its roadmap, and people's confidence in the overall project itself are also huge. So that is a mere 24 days away. Okay. So we are, we've been through multiple rounds of testing on the test networks. Again, the thing about the merge is so big as we have this second blockchain over here running proof of stake, and we have this blockchain that everybody's using now running proof of work. Okay. And essentially what we're doing is we're merging those two things together. So hence the merge. Okay. And it's going to happen in just 24 short days. It'll be here before you know it. So, we've got more and more sort of push from, a remnant of miners who want to start their own ETH fork. We've talked about that a lot. People ask all the time, like, are you going to get free coins whenever Ethereum merges to proof of stake or the ETH merge happens? Initially for a long time, I was saying, like, hey, I don't think that's going to happen because of the viability of a new network whenever that fork would take place. But we've seen a bigger push towards a proof of work Ethereum. It's actually called proof of work Ethereum. Let's see if I can pull up the account here. So we've seen a greater push towards proof of work Ethereum to stay behind. and people actually, fork and then get free coins. But we see people speculate on those coins on IOUs of them because they've been listed. And we've seen the price of those coins pretty much go down only for the past, past week or so, okay, ever since it's been listed. So you could trade the IOUs for these right now on certain cryptocurrency exchanges, and the market has basically decided it doesn't really like the proof of work forks. And so I've talked about for a long time, like the viability of these things, because Ethereum gets its value from all the networks, okay, on top of it. All the applications and cryptocurrencies on top of it. Its value as a network in and of itself. And if you just copy Ethereum, then you don't really have that network anymore. Like you could copy the apps on top of it, but you have to, people have to want to use them, right? If you have like USDC, a cryptocurrency, a stable coin on top of it, like they have to honor the redemptions, and you'd have to have a good reason for them to do that, okay? We talked about that some last week about some reasons that they could offer those redemptions or some strategies for doing that. But there's a huge problem, and that's what I'm trying to say here. Yeah, and I haven't seen compelling answers to these problems that would make the market actually value a fork of Ethereum to stay behind. We have seen from the official Twitter account talking about like freezing Ether that's in DeFi pools and basically making these centralized choices on who lives and who dies pre-fork, and like telling people to withdraw their funds from these different DeFi pools. And it doesn't look good. It sort of looks like a clown show. And I think that's when we have seen, like whenever those tweets started coming out is basically when the price started doing this. Fewer and fewer reasons why an ETH fork is looking viable. Okay. So, again, even if the fork happened and you got the coins, you got to get out of them. You got to cash out of them in some way, and you got a huge problem on your hands. You have to find an exchange that's going to let you do that, or you have to do it on a DEX, and those DEXs may not even work, on the new forked version of Ethereum. Because that's the other thing about the long-term viability of the network. I don't think people are really like, hey, yeah, I want to like start using this. I think it's just I want to get my airdropped coins and then get out. And that doesn't look like a long-term strategy for success and viability. All right, let's see here. All right, let's look at so one other thing surrounding the Ethereum merge is we've seen talks of potential censorship and also surrounding the sanctions that have been placed on Tornado Cash. Okay. So a little bit of update on that regard. So what's happened is, Tornado Cash is a privacy solution that's built on top of Ethereum. It's a technology called a mixer, where basically you can go deposit cryptocurrency into it, and you can go withdraw on the other side to a fresh new address with this thing that's sort of like a valet claim ticket, okay, to your funds that you deposited, and it's really hard to link the depositing with address from the withdrawing address. So it's sort of a way to like fund a new fresh wallet on chain without having a good link to the old wallet and seeing the transaction history for those two things. Now, there's some people say, hey, like some of the big blockchain analytics firms have cracked the code on doing that, but for most people, it's gonna be hard to track, right? So, anyways, we saw sanctions on these applications from the U.S. excuse me, citing that basically they're used by money launderers, people, or like people who have had big hacks or done big hacks, try to use them to launder the funds post hacks, and that's the big reason they cited for placing sanctions on this. It's historic precedent because one of the first times we've seen someone actually sanction code that runs out there online. Okay, and this kind of made, shockwaves to the entire ecosystem. It came to a fever pitch with one of the Tornado Cash developers arrested in the Netherlands. Okay. And so we're seeing community protest about this. Okay, so more than 50 people gathered in Amsterdam Square on Saturday to protest the arrest of blockchain developer Alexei. Okay, I'm not even trying to say Alexei's last name here, who was arrested on August 10th on suspicion of involvement with Tornado Cash protocol that was sanctioned earlier this month. So also, full disclosure, like we haven't, at least I haven't seen the updates on the full reasons for why this arrest was taking place, and even if we have the reasons, like we're not to the bottom of this yet, right? I've seen a lot of people just have instant backlash saying, "Oh, he was just arrested because he wrote some code." Well, we don't know what their actual reasons are. Okay, so there's a lot of people just making assumptions that that's the case. So, and I think the reason that's important to highlight is people are like, "Oh, they're scared because they're just arresting people who wrote some code." We don't know that that's the case yet. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Anyways, it was held just 2 days after the U.S. Treasury Department froze Tornado, a virtual currency mixer. I said it was used by North Korean hackers. That's what I was talking about a minute ago. So we have to see, we're gonna stay updated on this about what they actually come out and say about whether they said this was for other reasons or if it was just for publishing code that was responsible for this application that has been sanctioned, whether it's more than that. And if they say it's more than that, we have to actually find out if that's true. So anyways, that's a continuing story that we're going to keep monitoring here on this channel because it's so critical for people who are in this space. Also critical because, we're seeing talks of potential censorship on top of the blockchain itself for people who want to censor transactions to a sanctioned entity like this, and whether we're going to see that trickle down to the base layer of the protocol itself. So it's very, very critical. So what happens if the merge fails? So I'll kind of rank that with maybe some different tiers. So it depends on what you mean by failure, right? Like if there's failure in the sense of like something goes wrong with the merge, and there's failure in the sense of like it's a catastrophic failure. It's like game over, right? Like that's kind of like that's like a range of things, right? So in the sense of like something goes wrong, that I would even give that more nuance of like something unexpected happens. So I'd say that's like the most likely thing, is that something unexpected happens. And the question is, does that actually affect the usability of the blockchain in any way? Does it actually affect the value proposition of the blockchain in any way? Does it affect compromised user funds in any way? Okay. I would put that in the most likely camp in terms of what could happen with the merge. So, I mean, I think the market is a little, like we're not just in this time where the market is just so risk on and bullish, right? It's more of a risk off time. Okay. So I would expect, if even something unexpected happens, you're probably going to see some volatility in the crypto price, particularly for Ethereum itself. Now, whether that's actually going to be a long-term issue, it depends on the severity of what goes wrong or what is unexpected happens, right? All the way down to something like catastrophic, like they just turn on and it doesn't work, and the blockchain just halts block production, like or something even worse. I don't know, like the network gets 51% attacked based on some crazy set of circumstances that all happen at once. Like that's on the way less likely end of things that could happen. Now that would, I think, have a longer term impact on the price of Ether itself. Okay. And then everything else is kind of somewhere in between. Now that being said, like this person asked me what I think is going to happen if that happens. I think these are unlikely scenarios, right? The merge has been tested out in many different environments. I don't want to rule out anything negative happening. Okay. I think the biggest risk factors right now are what's going to happen with potential censorship for the network itself and what the blockchain sort of answers to that are. So we'll see. So this is why didn't I stream last Friday? I did stream last Friday. They did not publish. Let's see. Yeah, it's up there. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Daily updates videos out so more people can learn about blockchain. And if you're as fast with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? You can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find those free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you'll take a master's shortcut entirely, I showed a master blockchain step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You don't have to pay expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.